Hi, this is Tyler with Las Vegas Weekly, and for this week's cover, I explored the Vegas brewing scene and sat down with brewers from all over the valley. Check out some of my interviews.
Very open-ended first question here, but how did we get here?
I caught the bug pretty young. I mean, I in '92 I learned how to brew beer, and I was out of the Navy. Excuse me, I was out of the Navy, and I was morning manager at a little coffee house that was across the street from a local brewery, and the brewers would come in the morning, and I'd give them a free beer because then I could go to their place and get a free pint after I was done. And that was Bell's Brewing. And at the time, they were in a space about the size of where we're doing our interview right now.
Really?
A very tiny place, and they'd brew, and then they'd wheel in a little countertop, and they'd sell beer in the afternoon. And they have since grown to be, served across the country and whatnot. So I had the chance to meet these guys really early on, and 6 months went by, and this friendship began, and they were like, well, Griff, you have all your fingers and toes and you make good coffee. Why don't you try making beer? And so they sort of took me under their wing and sort of taught me how to make a little bit of beer here and there. And I caught the bug.
I was running and doing bar programs for Cosmopolitan, specifically at Blue Ribbon, which was like a high-end Japanese sushi and cocktail lounge. And while I was doing that, I had always had a love for beer and craft beer and also art. So I kind of had this Instagram that was beer and art. And it literally just kind of was born out of a hobby. There was no rhyme or reason. I never said, hey, I want to start a brewery. I want to start a beer company. It was just me drinking beer, taking pictures of it, and posting it for the world to see.
This was really we both kind of come from a diverse sales and marketing background. And this was an idea after a conversation in our backyard of, why doesn't Vegas have a namesake brewery? For as recognizable as the name of Las Vegas is globally, why is there not a brewery with that name? So that conversation happened in 2018, 2 weeks after the brand fell into dead status with the USPTO. So it was an opportunity to go ahead and solidify the mark. And once doing that, we realized, well, now we got to figure out how to bring it to life. So
I had friends that got me into brewing. They were brewing in their stovetop in their house, and we started in the house, and then kind of moved that into the garage and started making bigger batches of beer and giving away, bottling and kegging beers and giving away to people, and then started entering brew festivals. I just jumped off the cliff, basically. Decided to quit my job. I was bartending at the Wynn. Okay. My wife was working there as well. And I said, we're going to try to make this work. And I have to go all in on this. And she's like, okay. So I quit my job, and she supported us, and I didn't get paid for almost 4 years.
How has the Las Vegas brewing scene changed? Like, regardless of your place in it, like, how has it evolved over the years? And what do you hope to add to it going forward?
it's a good question. At least from the beginning, it was heavily restricted. And that was just based on some of the laws that were in place based on the city of Las Vegas. And that's where you saw the early adopters of the craft movement being down in Henderson. So the Henderson Booze District, the breweries popped up down there because Henderson said, hey, we're going to take down some of these barriers to entry and allow craft beer to thrive. And Las Vegas, the city proper, where we sit for this location as well as downtown, didn't really adopt that until about 6 years ago.
Okay. I haven't heard that yet.
They dropped the very high licensing barriers. Some of the early breweries that you saw, the big dogs, the Ellis Island, which is now Silver Reef in Utah, the Main Street, and a couple of other larger ones. They were all kind of big back, either had a gaming background, because a lot of it had to do with the gaming licensing, and you had six-figure licensing fees that were really prohibitive for a garage brewer or someone that was really passionate about craft beer that wanted to take that next step. So all of that kind of changed when Las Vegas wrapped their arms around Brewery Row and wanted to incentivize breweries from open, specifically in that arts district area. And that's when we saw the influx of breweries starting to pop down there.
You know, if you look around to the breweries that we have, there's a lot of legacy breweries in town, including Tenaya Creek, which is now part of Beer Zombies, just hit 25 years. You have Big Dog, which is like 25 years. I think I might have been around that, but there's a lot of legacy breweries. So 2013, these breweries had been around, 15 years or so. And then there's always kind of like a shift every 10 to 15 years, styles change and people's palates change and the market changes. The people that were 21 are now 36, 37, and you have new 21-year-olds. So there's always a constant evolution. And I feel like that 2013 era was right smack dab in the middle of everything. It was, people were buying things with their eyes. They're paying attention to labels. It wasn't just, oh, this beer is really good. They wanted a story behind it. They wanted marketing behind it. They wanted new flavors. So that kind of was like the perfect storm.
It has grown greatly. I would say that, gosh, I used to have these counts down, and forgive me forgetting, but I believe that we grew to upwards towards 17 identifiable breweries that were either open or preparing to open in 2021, 22.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell because alcohol sales in general across the whole country have declined.
Yeah.
Because Gen Z doesn't drink as much. So we are growing, and there are some craft beer brands that are growing, but it's difficult right now. It's a very trying time.
Yeah. Well, I promise I'd be doing my part and then some on that front.
Yeah, there's a lot of us out here. I think that Las Vegas is doing the best it can. I think that Las Vegas is growing and developing. Boy, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but that's okay. I think we're about 10 to 15 years behind other, like, the big beer cities. Like, and when I think big beer cities, I think of LA and San Diego and Denver and Seattle or Portland. And those areas where, you can throw a rock and hit the door of a brewery.
So I think the next evolution as far as like brewery specific is learning that you need to do more than just open the door on core beer. For us, it's events. We do a lot of events. We have a wrestling match in the brewery tomorrow. We have a horror movie in the brewery next week. We have yoga in the brewery. So we're constantly doing these things that you're not just a brewery. You're an entertainment company. You're a social gathering spot, first and foremost, that serves beer. And then honestly, in the next 10 years, I think a lot of breweries are going to realize that in order to keep growing, you're going to have to start sending beer outside of your locale. Luckily for us, that was already something that I'd been working on since day one. So we're distributed in 32 states and 20 countries. So we're sending things everywhere. And since Vegas is such a destination, now you're making fans that are eventually going to come to Vegas. So when they come to Vegas, they're like, oh, well, I already drink his beer. I already love it. So now I'm going to go visit. And it just kind of keeps this whole circle going.
This kind of leads me into trends. Like we saw IPAs really come around, I want to say 10 years or so when I was in college.
Oh, for sure.
Do we see any trends, especially locally? Like, are you seeing people ask for certain things more than they may have in the past?
Like, for a long time, the trend was, do you have any IPAs? Because at least you kind of know something at that point across the bar. I think that right now, sours are the new IPA. Like, now we have people coming in and they're a little intimidated and they're like, do you have any sours? And so that is the new kind of drift into, well, I feel more comfortable if I know something to talk about with you.
Like what else we're known for is our fruited sours. So we were really on the cutting edge of bringing that style to Nevada and Vegas. No one was doing like these heavily fruited sours at all. And then I worked with a brewery that was in Indiana called 450 North. And they were kind of like the pioneers of really making this style of beer. So we went out and did a collab with them. And we brought their beer to Nevada. And it was the first time it had ever been into the state. And it kind of sparked this crazy new genre of drinking.
Sours actually I think they peaked and have actually come down a little bit. I see sour sales have dropped a little bit. Now it seems to be more of the lighter offerings of lagers.
But what we've seen, and probably the biggest risk was, as a craft brewery and a craft brewery that's just starting, making a light lager. So our Vegas Light is a craft light beer. And so that's something that's going to go up against your macro brews like your Bud Miller and Coors products that you don't see a lot of craft breweries making, at least, especially 4 or 5 years ago when we were starting. You're seeing more of it now, as I think the consumer appetite is for something lighter, easier to drink. But the approach we took was Vegas is hot a large portion of the year. The people that, the 40, 50 million tourists that are coming in like to, throw back several beers. And, if you're drinking a bitey IPA, you might get through a couple of those, but it's really, a lot of people aren't putting down multiple IPAs. So it was an area that we've seen a lot of success just serving the light lager market from a local craft brewery.
We're just beginning to come into our own as far as developing a style that is the Mojave Desert, throwing my name in there, but the Mojave Desert or the Southwest style of brewing and style of beer. You will see a stout, you will see a blonde, you will see you'll see an IPA. That's a good one too. You'll always see those well delineated, well-defined styles of beer. But then you'll see the one that is like, I don't know, Joey's Choice or Jimmy's Best Hellas or something like that. And you'll see those things. Those are when brewers are taking a step away from a classic style and they're doing what is best for what they have here in the valley or the tastes that people bring in the valley.
Probably factors in just having the population boom in the last like 20, 30 years like it has. So like where you have a couple of Midwest kids like us, and you have other people, I'm sure, from like Austin, where, oh yes, it might be. So I'm sure that probably plays a factor too, where you get like people who have experienced different breweries, different types of beers in different places, and kind of brought elements of that.
Oh, I totally
like
agree
a
with
melting
you,
pot.
Tyler.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
I don't necessarily think that we have our own style. I think because of Nevada and Vegas being so transient, we're bringing styles from other places. I think just building that and kind of seeing like what that looks like will kind of define the Nevada beer scene and style. But I don't think there's a specific beer that really represents Vegas and Nevada, because a lot of this is not traditional beer. I know that. This is not a very traditional style. So if you're a purist, you're not going to come in here and drink this. You're going to come in here and be like, I don't want to drink that. But beer is, at the end of the day, beer is a social lubricant. It's not that serious. I don't take myself that serious. So what do we do to just, let's have fun with it, and these are fun.
Is there anything else that our readers should know about you, or anything that you want people to know about your brewery?
If I could say anything, it'd be just that the craft brewing scene in Las Vegas lives and dies by our community, our local community. Tourists literally come and go, and we can't predict how tourism is going to. We can't predict that. We can't live on that unless we're right down on the strip as a brewery. So as a Henderson brewery, I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation, and I dare say I speak for a lot of the breweries here in town, that we are so grateful that the community has rallied around craft beer in such a strong way. I've seen friendships made across the bar. I've seen first dates that have turned into later down the road weddings and the proposals. We've had marriage proposals in our brewery, and it's everything that I could have hoped.